Welcome to my slice of WoW. Today I will take you through the Blood Prince Council encounter in ICC. This encounter consists of 3 bosses, the Blood Elf Princess that you encountered throughout the Wrath expansion. During the encounter, you will only ever be able to damage one of the princes, this being the prince who is empowered. As you can see here, Prince Valenar is the first to be empowered. This will always be the case. When Valenar is empowered, he casts Empowered Shock Vortex. This creates a force around each player, causing damage and a knockback to any other nearby player, so please spread out. Valenar also summons a Kinetic Bomb. This bomb can be bounced by damaging it. If the bomb ever touches the ground, it blows up for a significant amount of damage and a large knockback. We allocated our favorite mage to ensure that this never reached the ground. Since multiple bombs can be active at any one time, having an additional ranged player watching for misbehaving bombs is also recommended. Next to be empowered is Prince Taladram. Throughout the encounter he will conjure balls of flame. When he becomes empowered, the damage of these balls significantly increases. The damage of these empowered balls can be reduced by having players intersect the path of the flaming orb. This absorbs some of the damage before it hits its primary target. This is very important to avoid players getting one-shot, and as we all know, one-shot is bad. Finally, we have Prince Keleseth. Keleseth does nothing amazing and is generally off-tanked by a ranged DPS. We prefer to use a Warlock. Keleseth's main threat is his increased damage during the empowered phase. In order to counter this, your ranged tank needs to run around and pick up the Dark Nuclei, which each helps reduce damage taken by 35%. It is vital that the ranged tank has as many of these as possible, or he will splatter all over the floor in many little pieces as Keleseth becomes empowered. This is the entire Blood Prince encounter. From here it will repeat its empower rotation. So next to be empowered, again, is Prince Valenar. Since Prince Valenar is now empowered, this means we have to deal with empowered shock vortexes again. So the raid has to spread out when these are cast, and as you can see, we are better at this the second time around. You can also see how our ranged Keleseth tank is constantly running around picking up the Dark Nuclei to ensure that he is taking as little damage as possible. When the shock vortex is about to cast, our melee runs out from the boss to ensure that they are not too close together when it hits. Throughout the encounter, Prince Valenar also does non-empowered vortexes. These can be treated like any other Void Zone mechanic, so staying away is a good thing. Now sometimes bad things happen, and this is what happens when a shock orb goes off. As you can see, there's raid-wide damage and a major knockback. We're not entirely sure why this shock orb went off, but we're speculating that it might have hit the ceiling. Next to be empowered is Prince Taldamar, so we are now watching for flame orbs. As you can see here, the raid puts itself nicely between me and the orb in order to absorb some of the damage before it reaches me and explodes. You want to make sure that you have an area of at least 10 yards clear around you when the orb hits. This is to ensure that no one else takes any unnecessary damage. At this point of the fight, the raid is watching for the flame orbs while doing their individual jobs. As an orb is conjured, melee move away to create a safe distance in case they are targeted, and to ensure that they can move to put themselves in the path of the orb. Prince Velenar is now empowered, so the raid does their stuff, while watching for empowered shock vortex being cast. When it is cast, melee spread out and then collapse back in once it has been completed. Throughout the encounter, our friendly neighborhood mage has been busy keeping the shock orbs afloat. As can be seen here, he is still doing a great job. So to recap the fight has 3 phases with some mechanics related to each phase. For Prince Velenar, you spread out for the empowered shock blasts. For Prince Taldaram, you intercept the flaming orbs if you are not the primary target. And if you are the primary target, you kite the flaming orb away to a safe spot where it will not blow up additional raid members. Finally, for Prince Keleseth, you are completely relying on your ranged tank to maintain a cluster of dark nuclei. Throughout the encounter, you avoid shock blasts that look like tornadoes, and you have someone allocated to bouncing the orbs. Once you and your raid manages to keep track of all this, you proceed to collect the loot. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and until next time, have a good time in WoW.